Alright, hello everyone, hope you're all well, hope you're all staying safe. In today's video I am finally, and I know this series has such an awful fucking reputation of being started and then stopped and then started and stopped, but today, regardless, episode 6 of Community Feedback Friday is coming. It's right here. I'm so sorry it's taken this long, but regardless, I'm really fucking happy to be doing it again. Alright, so in case you're unaware of how this series works, essentially you join my Discord server, which will be linked in the description of the video, whereby a very specific channel called Community Feedback Friday is available for you to put in your suggestions about future content for No Man's Sky. These can be unrealistic suggestions, they can be realistic, it really doesn't matter. They're really good fun for me to read, and the best ones get picked for a video each week. Anyways guys, with all of that said and done, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. Alright, first and foremost, we have a few suggestions from the user Crowtamer. I think that's how you say it, Crowtamer, and they say the following. Multi-swords, fast and quick melee combat with the ability to act as a mining tool. I feel like physically mining a stack of gold is better than just pointing a laser at it. Magic, find ancient Gek artifacts and learn spells. These can be used for combat or buffing your character. Owning sentinels, the ability to hack and make sentinels would be very useful. Make them mine for you, fight for you, and scan for you. Upgrading them and customizing them would be great also. Okay, so I know this individual has technically suggested 3 things, and I know this kind of goes against the unofficial rules of Community Feedback Friday, but all 3 of them are fucking great. Absolutely amazing ideas. First of all, multi-swords. Multi-swords have been spoken about for a while. I'm pretty sure there was elements of a multi-sword found in the game's files from way back when. I'm pretty sure when No Man's Sky first came out, and yeah, I am quite surprised that we haven't seen something which would be similar to this. As Crowtamer says as well, physically mining a stack of gold or mining anything with something that has physical contact is way more satisfying than a laser. I feel like that's why No Man's Sky mining is so boring, is because it's a laser and not you getting up close and kind of having that impact sound, the swinging animation, all of that good stuff. The concept of magic is certainly an interesting proposition. I'm not entirely sure how well that would tie in with No Man's Sky, but kind of like having buffs almost, as Crowtamer says, is definitely a unique idea, and yeah, would like to see it. And owning sentinels as well, again, something which has been stated I think a few times before. I've most definitely heard this before, but it is a great suggestion and there's a reason why it keeps coming up. I think especially, you know, the idea of upgrading sentinels, customizing them, would make a great deal of sense. It would probably come with starship customization or maybe even freighter customization. Actually, we might have freighter customization. I feel like that came with Desolation, didn't it? But yeah, sentinels are a little bit pointless. You know, they're not that great, even with Desolation and how they've been improved. They're still a little bit boring. Their presence isn't exactly justified all that much, and yeah, it would be nice to take them as your little companion, maybe like a pet as well, something which has been spoken about a lot. Taming animals, you know, taming sentinels is like the next logical step. I'm not really too sure, but yeah, Crowtamer, thank you very much, very good suggestions. Alright, moving on, we have a comment from the individual JR Joannes, or Junior Joannes, who fucking knows, and they say the following. My suggestion is exotic subclass for every ship type, so exotic fighters, haulers, etc. I'm not really a fan of the exotic ship designs. Also, to go with that is missions that reward with said exotic ships, making them a bit more rare. Now, this is a really interesting suggestion, and when I first read it, I was actually quite confused. My initial thought was that, wait, we do have this. This is in the game. But the more I thought about it, the more I realised that I'm actually really wrong. Exotics are their own class of starships, right? There aren't exactly subcategories of exotics. Like Joanne's is saying right here, there should be subcategories of fighters, haulers, all of the regular type of No Man's Sky ships which we currently have in the game. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me how this doesn't exist. Honestly, like, it kind of blew my mind. The more I thought about it, the stupider it seems to me that this is somehow not a thing. It sounds really harsh, but you would have expected this to be like a fairly basic concept. But I suppose then again, exotic ships are their own thing, and they are supposed to be unique, and they're supposed to be their own kind of style of ship, which is separate from the normal ones. And maybe that separation is done on purpose to ensure they are super rare. I'm not really too sure. But yeah, having these subcategories would make a great deal of sense, and genuinely it is such a simple suggestion, but I'm a really big fan of it. Not that I'm a person that can even get an exotic ship because I'm too fucking stupid to use coordinates, but regardless, I would still like to see this 100%. Thank you very much for the suggestion. Alright, moving on, we have a suggestion from the user Violet Vibe, and they say the following. Just thought that haulers would really benefit from having a cargo storage added to their inventory like the exosuit does. It makes sense and would make haulers more meaningful since you can upgrade storage slots for any ship anyways. I do think each class should have something added to make them more unique. Just some second thought ideas, maybe shuttles allow for player passengers and explorers have the ability to hover in place and scan discoveries while on ship. Haulers have the extra cargo storage and fighters fight good. So yeah, again, this is another suggestion which, upon first glance, I was a little bit confused with. I would have assumed that cargo haulers would have had a cargo slot, but no, going back and playing No Man's Sky, they don't. It's like the fucking Mandela effect, isn't it? It's so fucking weird. But yeah, the idea of making starship types in No Man's Sky a lot more specific and having unique kind of rewards and ideas behind them makes a great deal of sense, like Violet Vibe has suggested right here, especially with something like having cargo storage for a hauler. That would make sense, like it makes perfect sense, and yet again, why isn't it in the game in the first place? But I also like the addition of shuttles for player passengers and explorers having the ability to hover in place, scanning discoveries, things like that. Yes, it's cool, it makes sense, it ties with the type of ship as well, and especially with Sean Murray's original vision of, you know, you can choose what kind of a player you want to be. The ship is like the personification of the kind of player you are, and having these specific gameplay advantages would make a great deal of difference. I like it how he ends it though. Haulers have the extra cargo storage and fighters fight good. I don't know if he's referring to that is how it works at the moment, because that is very true. Haulers quite literally have a big inventory and they're slow, and fighters are good at fighting, they're quick. But there are no specific design choices or specific gameplay changes, and I think that's what Violet Vibe is trying to suggest, so thank you so much. Alright, moving on, we have a suggestion from the individual Otay, and they say the following. Hallucinations while exploring anomalous worlds. Once a player has overstayed their welcome, they will begin to hallucinate due to the surreal conditions of the planet. Hallucinations may include seeing dark, shadow-like variants of sentinels, signs of man-made structures, resources that disappear upon interaction, domesticated forms of fauna, mounts found near buildings, a more polished, more condensed form of creature riding that only allows players to mount fauna that can be ridden in a more natural upright position to avoid clipping models and offset player animations. So this is actually two suggestions in one. I only kind of realised that sort of reading through it, but we'll go with it. So first of all, I want to talk a lot about this hallucination idea. Now, I had to give this a little like on Discord. I know that means absolutely fuck all reacting to things with emojis, but my god, Otay, if you're watching, and I really hope you are watching, this is a fucking amazing idea. So good. I don't really know where to begin with this. There's so much which I want to talk about. Anomalous worlds, to begin with, are very boring. These supposed 1.3 planets that were supposed to be different and unique, you know, like the bubble planets, or like the anomalous planets where everything's broken and distorted, you know, it's the break in the simulation, all of that shit. They're boring. Even though they're supposed to be these incredibly unique biomes with really interesting looking items on them and flora and fauna, they're cool the first time you look at them, but after a while they get really boring, and this is a problem with No Man's Sky just in general. That's why we need a fucking variation update, but we're not, that's not today's video, alright? Anyway, the idea of having these hallucinations would not only tie in with the lore of the planet, it would also tie in with the aesthetic and also make them that little bit more interesting. The problem I have with anomalous worlds is that although they look cool, and trust me, I really like the design and aesthetic of them, but the terrain is so boring. But mostly there's just nothing. It's the flat rolling hills with the same flora everywhere, and that's it. Hallucinations would really make this interesting. It would add a kind of psychological level to No Man's Sky as well, which we could see with Desolation. You know, Hello Games clearly want to go down a little bit more of a different path, you know, experimenting with horror elements. Then Hallucinations, fuck me, it makes perfect sense. But yeah, I love the idea, especially of seeing dark shadow-like variants of sentinels, signs of man-made structures. You know, this shit makes my skin crawl. It's kinda eerie and I like it. Especially if we're going to be getting some kind of a story update with a new antagonist, then something like this would fit in really nicely. And the other point about domesticated forms of fauna, mounts found near buildings, yeah, I like it. I like the idea of basically finding pre-tamed animals, and again, being near buildings would make a lot of sense. You know, maybe the other alien species have managed to tame them. Like, why are we the only things that can tame them? We're probably not, realistically. And yeah, creature riding being more polished, I completely agree with, especially when you go at certain angles. Your character does just kind of fly around, and yeah, clips though, it doesn't look too great. But yeah, these suggestions, especially the hallucinations, incredible, and one of the best suggestions which I have heard in a long time, so thank you so much for this. Alright guys, I'm gonna end the video there, but thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, then please do feel free to leave a like on it. Please do stay safe, love you all, take care.